What is going on, everybody? I am back to review the New Balance 1080 V14. Let's get right into it. So the New Balance 1080 V14 is New Balance's premium daily trainer. On their website, it did say that this shoe was built for any type of run and all-day comfort. So that includes walking, maybe going to the gym casually, and for everyday purpose runs. So that's a little bit of the context on how I'm gonna be grading these or reviewing these shoes. So let's get right into it. So as always, we're gonna start off with the outsole of the shoe. And as you can see, this does look very similar to New Balance's other running model, which is the New Balance More V5, one of my personal favorites. So I tested these shoes in dry weather conditions on the road, and from a traction point of view, I felt like I had no problems. I never felt like I was going to slip while I was running, even when making quick cuts or quick turns. The outsole performed very well in the conditions that I ran in, which, dry weather as well as on the road. So if you are planning to take these on the trail or in wet weather conditions and snowy conditions, I can't really speak on that because I didn't test the shoe. But if you're only gonna be running on the road in pretty ideal weather conditions, the outsole is going to hold up just fine, and it's going to take care of you from a traction point of view. Now moving on to the outsole durability, I have put over 20 miles on this shoe, and the durability looks to be doing well on the outsole. I can still see the etchings on the black rubber pods. I don't exactly know what rubber compound New Balance used for this shoe, but so far they've been holding up very well. Now moving on to the cushioning or the midsole of the New Balance 1080 V14, we have a full length Fresh Foam X from New Balance, and it has 38 millimeters of stack height in the heel, dropping to 32 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot, giving it a 6 millimeter heel to toe drop. Now how did these perform? Well, on slower runs and recovery runs, I really enjoyed the New Balance 1080 V14. The Fresh Foam X is super soft and super comfortable. If you like a soft and plush underfoot feel, these shoes are gonna get you right because they are probably the most comfortable shoes for running slow as well as walking in my experience with all the running shoes that I have. If you do have the New Balance More V5 or you've tried the New Balance More V5, it does feel very similar on foot or underfoot. And the only difference between the More V5 and the New Balance 1080 V14 is gonna be that stack height. You're gonna get a little bit less stack height in this shoe, so you're gonna get a little bit more ground feel versus the More V5. But I am gonna make a special comparison video or a separate video comparing the two. So for slower runs and slower paces, these felt super comfortable. I personally like a little bit of a softer foam underfoot, and these really fit the bill. Now, when I started picking up the pace a little bit, however, that's where I felt like I ran into a couple of issues with the 1080 V14, starting with the ground feel. So typically, with these daily trainers, you're gonna feel a little bit of ground feel, especially as you go for longer runs. But in the 1080 V14 specifically, after I started picking up the pace or once I got to those later miles in my long runs, I did feel a lot of ground feel underfoot. And the plush, soft feeling immediately went away, especially when I was on slower long runs. Even at a slower pace, I did feel that I compressed the foam completely until in the forefoot I was really feeling just the pavement and maybe the black rubber outsole. Like I said, when I also picked up the pace, I really started to feel the foam compress completely, and I also didn't really feel much underfoot. Now the heel, there was enough cushioning where I still felt protected from a heel perspective, but when I was on the balls of my feet and I was running a little bit faster, that's where I felt that the foam kind of bottomed out, or bottom out isn't the correct word, but I just felt like there wasn't enough foam in the forefoot, and I didn't get too much response or energy return from the shoe when I was really on the balls of my feet and I was picking up the pace or at the later stages of my long runs. This is not to say that the cushioning on the shoe is bad, but I just felt that for a premium daily trainer from New Balance, I wanted a little bit more bounce or a little bit more excitement, especially in the forefoot of the shoe, especially for those later stages of my long runs or when I wanted to pick up the pace. With that being said, I think that the midsole is just not as versatile as I personally wanted it to be, but it did very well in those slower pace runs and easy recovery days. Especially when I kept the run under, 8 miles, I felt that that was kind of the point where I would start feeling the forefoot foam compress completely, and that's where I got a lot of ground feel. Now, if this isn't a huge deal to you, or you actually prefer a lot of ground feel and you don't mind putting in that extra effort, especially in those longer runs or at faster paces, this shoe could still maybe work for you if you prefer that softer, pillowy feel under your foot. Now, moving on to the upper of the New Balance 1080 V14. This upper is very well fitting in my opinion, and I think it's attributed to these perforations or ribbed like structures in the heel as well as the sock liner. It's all around the ankle as well as the heel, paired with the gusseted tongue. And I think overall, just the upper hugs your foot very well. It's a little bit snug. I do have a wider than average foot, and I went true to size. And I did have some pinching in the midfoot sections where the outer midfoot and the inner midfoot. And over time, as I broke in the shoe, it started to go away a little bit, but it was very painful, as I did mention in my first run review. And I think that this probably was attributed to the shoe being a little bit too narrow for my foot, which is a little bit interesting because in the New Balance More V5, I got the same size as this shoe and it fit my foot perfectly. But my theory is that the New Balance More V5 had a wider platform or wider base. The fit was exactly the same as this shoe, but I think this midsole or the way that they sculpted the midsole was a little bit narrower on the shoe. There's just a little bit less foam width-wise and stack-wise. So that's what caused that midfoot pain. But eventually it started to break in. But if you do have wide feet like me, you might want to check out the wide version of this shoe, or you might want to go up half a size. But when it comes to the actual upper itself, I thought that it fit true to size, and it fits so nicely because it just felt like a nice hug. Heel lockdown was perfect. I think that this is the epitome of having great support and feeling completely locked in, that one-to-one fit. And then as for forefoot and midfoot, the midfoot was a little bit painful for me, but as I explained, it was probably because the base of the shoe was a little bit narrow for my liking. And then the forefoot, I was able to have a little bit of wiggle room in my toes for lengthwise, which is what I personally like, and to me that fits true to size. And last but not least, when it comes to ventilation, I thought that the 1080 V14's upper was a little bit thick for my liking, and honestly, it felt a little bit hot while I was running in the shoe. California's weather right now is a little bit hot as well, so I think that my feet just really heated up in the shoe. I think in colder conditions, this is gonna be a really nice shoe to wear because the airflow is not very good, but if you run in a very hot or humid environment, I don't think that this is the best upper for you if you get a lot of blisters or you have really hot feet. So overall, what is my conclusion on the 1080 V14? My conclusion is that if you want a premium daily trainer that you want to run a little bit slower in, or you just want to take it for easy runs and you don't want the bulk of the New Balance More V5, you kind of want a little bit lower to the ground feel but still a plush underfoot feeling, the 1080 V14 is going to be a great shoe for you. I think if you're also planning on just wearing this shoe out to walk around and you maybe have a job that you have to stand a lot in, I think that this shoe is going to be perfect for that use, and you don't want to really stand on a super high platform like the New Balance More V5. I think that this is going to be a better option for you, and as long as you're not looking to push the pace a little bit or you're looking to do really long runs, like for me personally, I wouldn't wear the shoe for over a 10-mile run just because since I am a bigger guy, I think I'm compressing the forefoot a little bit too much and I get a little bit too much ground feel for my liking. So that would be the ideal scenario for you if you walk a lot, if you stand a lot, and if you plan to take these out for your recovery runs or slower runs that aren't too long. So as you can see, there's a lot of caveats to my recommendations because I think personally for me, I was expecting the shoe to be a little bit more versatile. This is the first 1080 series shoe that I've ran in. I've tried on the 1080 V13, which is the past year's model, and I felt that from a try-on perspective, they were amazing, same like these. But when I actually ran in the shoe, I just felt that it wasn't as versatile like when I tried to pick up the pace or in later stages of my long runs. So for me personally, I don't really enjoy the shoe too much unless I'm just walking or taking it really easy that day. I do expect for $165 for a premium daily trainer, I expect a little bit more versatility. Now, I think maybe New Balance did this by design to keep it, a soft underfoot feeling with a little bit of ground feel, which I think they really nailed. But for me personally, the way that I like my shoes to perform, I would want a little bit more in the forefoot, and I don't want as much ground feel, which is probably why I like the New Balance More V5 a lot. And it also could be due to me being a heavier runner. So that's gonna pretty much wrap up my review on the New Balance 1080 V14. I think it's a fantastic shoe for the reasons that I mentioned, and I think it's gonna definitely have its appeal to the mass audiences, as I think the 1080 series is very popular from New Balance. So That's gonna wrap up my review, and I still enjoy walking and running slower paces in this shoe, don't get me wrong. I am going to compare these directly to the New Balance More V5 if you all are interested in that, and I do have future videos coming out soon comparing shoes, doing more performance reviews, and just running related stuff in general. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support, and I will catch you guys in the next one.